Welcome once again to the Old Cow Report. And of course, I'm your host, Chuck Lee, and coming to you live from the beautiful downtown tire factory and carp boutique. And of course, with me is my rusty, trusty sidekick, Fred, the carp sausage master, Stafford. Welcome to the program, Fred.
Yeah.
Now, where in the heck you been? You just rolled in here about 1 minute ago.
Oh,
We had to delay the beginning of the show.
At the Legion meeting.
Oh, yeah, the Legion. Okay, all right. Well, this is the Cow Report, Fred.
Yes.
So you're going to have to set all that Army stuff aside. Suppose you guys were talking war down there tonight.
No. I talked about the Morning Matters program, 105 to 2:30, Monday through Friday.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right.
It.
Well, they can run their own ads. We're not going to advertise for them. They won't even let us on that channel, and here you are advertising for them. All right, this is the Cow Report, and we are live, and of course, we're down now to less than 40 days to spring, and of course, if you've been outside the last couple of days, it seems like spring has already sprung. And of course, with spring, when you're down at the river, the carp start running thick and heavy, trying to get back up the dam there at Chippewa River there, and of course, Fred's been down there day and night spearfishing.
Yeah, you can
Spearfishing carp for the old sausage factory here.
I don't do that.
We had a call last week, and people want to know what your secret ingredients is that you're putting in carp. Carp sausage.
I don't know. I don't even eat carp.
And another,
don't sell it either. Don't make it. Don't catch them.
And another guy said, "You're 80 years old. How in the heck do you drag 50-pound carp up from the river all the way up here
to the
sausage factory?"
I don't.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a secret. But I'll tell you one thing: the health department's going to get down on you if you don't start scaling them things.
Well, that's all right. Let them get after me, because I don't catch them.
And take the guts out of them before you stuff them in the sausage casing there.
Yeah.
It tastes a little better that way.
Yeah.
Don't you know if you leave the guts in there, they get rancid after a while?
Yes.
You're going to have the biggest recall in carp history.
Right.
All right. Well, enough of that. So how much is one of the long carp sausages?
I don't know.
Fred's Secret Delight, it's called.
I don't know.
Well, you're the one selling them right downstairs there.
I don't sell anything
right
here.
Down on the first floor there. If you come out here to
come in here, don't do it.
Come out here to the tire factory, you'll see the sign there. Fred's Carpet Sausage Factory.
And that's not me. That's you that's down there selling them.
Okay, now, the other thing is we had many calls last week. People want to know, what time are you available for the tourists up here?
I'm not.
Well, you used to be in here.
I'm not available. I don't even come down. The only things I come down for is for this program.
Well, that's not what I heard. They said you're down here and you have a tour of the Cow Report studios
have it,
every hour on the hour. Now, how long does it take to show the studio anyway?
It takes too long. That's why I can't do it. I don't even have a car anymore. I can't get down here.
All right. Okay. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The saga down here at the Old Cow Report continues, and Fred still as ornery as ever. And as far as that goes, what can I say? Well, Freddie, I suppose you read the paper over the weekend.
A little.
And you can see it on the front page of Sunday's paper how the Leader Telegram is promoting a Democrat. It's supposed to be a Republican paper, but they're really pushing this Ron Kind. And of course, he was the successor to Steve Gunderson, and of course there was quite a bit of collusion there to help Kind get in. Some Gunderson people were supporting Kind, the Democrat. Saw in RI, they're called rhinos, Republicans in name only. And they were behind the upset of the Ron Kind being elected to Steve Gunderson's position there. And of course, from what I understand, some of Gunderson's former staff are working now for Ron Kind here. But this guy named Eric Lindquist, he's a Leader Telegram staff reporter. He's supposedly supposed to be neutral, but the guy's a Democrat through and through, and he doesn't know how to report unbiasedly, Fred. And he should take himself out of the out of the running when they get down to doing political analysis and political reporting in these congressional races, because he tends to lean towards the liberal Democrat or the pro-homosexual, pro-abortion candidate. And so the other candidates don't get a fair shot at running for that office, because they got what they call a ringer in there under the guise of a neutral political reporter named Eric Lindquist, and he is pro Ron Kind, and before that he was pro Steve Gunderson, and the other candidates just don't have a chance when he's doing the reporting. And speaking about Steve Gunderson, I see here he's doing everything but being a lobbyist out there in Washington since he's since he was forced out of office back in '96. He is now what they call a navigator. He guides companies through complexities. In other words, he's going around cutting deals because of his contacts out in Washington, and so he's a lobbyist in everything but name. And he's pulling strings and cutting deals for people. According to this article, he guides companies through complexities by, once again, that neutral reporter, Eric Lindquist. And it says here, let's see, hey, can you get us back on the air there? Thank you. All right, in that role, he provides, let's see, Gunderson, who represented the 17-county Western Wisconsin District from 1980 through 96, has spent the last year as a senior consultant heading the Washington, D.C. office of Michigan-based Greystone Companies. In that role, he provides insight and analysis about the federal government to clients such as universities, healthcare providers, and corporations. And of course, what do these people want? What do universities, healthcare providers, and corporations want, Fred?
Jobs.
And they want influence. And so they go to somebody like Gunderson that was on the inside for 16 years, and they seek out that influence and see what strings he can pull. It says here, as a former Republican member of Congress, Gunderson is able to use his knowledge and contacts to predict policy trends that are important to clients, for clients to recognize. He also can direct clients to key people if they want to make known their concerns about particular legislation. Unlike a lobbyist who makes direct contact with members of Congress or government officials on behalf of a client, Gunderson's role as a strategic planner doesn't involve directly advocating on issues. So in other words, if you read between the lines, he's indirectly involved in advocating on issues for his clients. So Steve Gunderson, retired. He's a millionaire now from his retirement pension, and he's a pseudo lobbyist in Washington. But if you would read Eric Lindquist, the guy's he's just the greatest thing since Fred's carp sausage. All right, and with that, Freddie boy, we better take the first call before we get any deeper.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Hey, Chuck.
You're on the air.
Steve, I think I left my shoes and glasses at your house when I was over last weekend watching the Packers. Remember when we were packing? That was so much.
Right there, Freddie boy, there's another prime example of the fine educational system we have here in the Eau Claire area.
Yes.
All right, Freddie, if you've been buying gas lately, if you still had a car, you'd be out there buying gas like the rest of us.
Yes.
And you notice that the price of gas has been coming down a little bit lately. Now, what's the deal on that?
Well, it's coming down because they aren't selling too much as they got. They isn't using too much oil either. That's why they got the gas down.
Oh, yeah. All right. I knew it was something like that. I thought it was more on the lines of the cartel around here is just kind of collapsing because they can't control the prices like they'd like to. So,
the cartel has still got us up above many of the other places in Wisconsin.
Well, who is that cartel around here anyway that controls gas price that every gas station in town has the exact same price? If that ain't a monopoly, what is it?
They're members of the National Gasoline Retailers Association.
Yeah, but you can drive 50 miles out of town and gas is a lot cheaper.
I know it.
So what's the deal?
Well, they got more members here than they have elsewhere.
You can go over to Green Bay and gas is about 3, 4, 5 cents cheaper.
Right.
You go over to the Twin Cities, where you would think because of all the people, gas would be higher because they could gouge more people. It's about 6 to 7 cents cheaper over there.
Yes.
So what's the deal here in Eau Claire, Wisconsin? Is it just the dumping ground for every rip-off artist in the country just to drop their bags off the train here and say, I'm going to be, we're just going to rip off people here in Eau Claire?
No. They got the prices up, though.
They sure do. They sure do, Fred. It's about $1.11 here, and it's about $1.04, $1.05 in the cities.
Yes.
I don't know why they. I remember going up farther north to Rice Lake and up by Superior, and it's cheaper. You'd think if the gas is coming out of the south that it would be more expensive to take it on up to Duluth and Superior, but it was actually cheaper up there. So there's something fishy and something rotten in Denmark, and there's somebody around this area that's controlling the price of gas. Otherwise, there'd be the old-fashioned thing called competition, Fred.
I know.
And old-fashioned competition would bring the price down, and the consumer would benefit. But somebody is artificially keeping the price up there. Now, if the Leader Telegram had any investigative reporters out there, or Channel 13, or Way Radio, or WIB, they might go out there and sniff around and report on things like that. Some people want to know why they have to pay more gas and pay for more for their gas in this area than other areas. Where are the investigative reporters in this area, Fred? Is that another cartel? They're all controlled, and they all have to answer to one person that tells them what they can print and what they cannot?
Could be.
Yeah, have a shot there of Flavin' Pop, Fred.
I'm not drinking Flavin' Pop. No.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Do cows lay eggs?
What?
Do cows lay eggs?
No, it's not.
Okay.
It's not Easter yet. All right. So, Freddie boy, since we were on last, the groundhog out there, let's see, the one in Sun Prairie predicted an early spring, and the one out there in Puxatawney Phil predicted late spring. So go figure. Which one do you think it's going to be? It looks like spring out there already.
Yeah.
Now, you've been studying that for many, many years, Fred. What's your analysis on the spring issue?
Well, I don't know.
Is it going to be early or late?
It's either going to be one or the other.
All right. Okay there.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello? Yes, my friend told me to call you and ask you about the stuff that you have. He said you know what I was calling about if I just said the stuff. He said you got some good crap over there, some good shit.
All right, Freddie boy.
Yes.
Okay, so what do you got there for first off out of the bat there?
Dornan vote fraud, pro-Bens at Clinton regime stone wall, and that's from the Wanderer.
Now, what's that mean in layman's terms?
Well, they didn't let the news out on what they did to elect that Mrs. Sanchez.
Well, they did find several hundred illegal ballots in there and illegal
the
voting.
Republicans haven't done anything about it, unfortunately.
Well, I guess the final word was it on is they didn't have enough illegal votes to take her out of office. They found several hundred illegal aliens voting and people that weren't citizens of this country and people that weren't registered properly, but the figure didn't add up to 984, and that's what was needed to unseat her. So now, here Bob Dornan is with less than 9 months left. Now he's got to contemplate whether to get in there and run as an independent or run as a Republican, and there's already a Republican running. So he's got an uphill battle now, whether if he wants to get his seat back, he might have to run as an independent or third-party candidate.
Yeah. Right.
Has he said anything in there about whether he's going to do any of that? Of course, Bob Dornan is that patriot from California who let us know a lot of things out there in Washington with his special orders. You'd see him giving speeches on the House floor after hours, and he'd give speeches for several hours at a time telling us about what's going on around the world and what's really happening, and he made a lot of enemies, including people in his own party, and so it cost him dearly there, Fred, in the last election cycle. Okay, Freddie, we got something here. An unidentified man in Buenos Aires pushed his wife out of an 8th floor window this week, but his plan to kill her failed when she became entangled in some power cables down below. So he looked down and he saw that she's still alive, so the man jumped out of the 8th floor window himself, and he tried to land on top of her to finish her off, but he missed and killed himself. So go figure.
Yes.
So that's what isn't that something, Fred? Jumping from the 8th story window there. All right, there. Of course, Roy's running the computers and everything in the other room, and he's overseeing the bevy of beautiful broads in there. They're answering the phone, and I know the phone has just been ringing off the hook, and we try to weed out some of those unsavory calls to get down to the meat and potato calls, Fred.
Yes.
So we'll see what we got here. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Chuck, this is Kissel. I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that marijuana stuff.
What, is there something new on it?
I don't know. I was just, looking at your views.
Uh-huh.
Well, Fred's the expert on marijuana, going back to the days of Cab Calloway in the 30s when you used to... You're from New York City, and I know you went to those clubs where Cab Calloway was playing when he made...
I did.
You told me you saw him once live out there.
I did. He came to our high school.
Your high school? What the heck was he doing there?
He graduated from Heron.
That where you graduated?
Yeah, well, that's where I went to school for 3 years, 3.5 years.
Well, what did he do when he came back there?
What do you mean, what did he do?
He said he came back to visit.
He came back, he brought his band with him and played for a half hour or so, an hour.
Remember what songs he played?
I don't remember, no. He played some of the songs that he used to sing quite a bit.
Now, were you still in high school then?
Yes.
All right. Okay, well that settles the whole story on marijuana then.
Yes.
Okay. So with that, we better take another call. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, Chuck. I was against when they named that airport in Washington, D.C. after Ronald Reagan, and I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
All right. Well, it sounds like we have somebody there. Well, you know, just the other day I reached in my pocket and I pulled out a dime. And you know whose picture was on the front of that dime, Freddie boy?
Roosevelt.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt. And the first dime was minted in 1946, and he died in 45.
Yes.
So go figure. There wasn't no moss growing underneath the Democrats and the socialists
No.
stones out there to get him on something public and something that everyone has in their pocket pretty much for the last 52 years. So I think it was a very good idea that they named the airport after Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan changed the whole complexion of this country and moved it in a whole new direction, and it was his ideas and forethought that brought down the Berlin Wall and the collapse of communism in Eastern Europe, at least collapse from communism down to socialism, and brought a lot of these wayward countries into the world family, and made things a lot safer in the world, to the point now where even though those atomic bombs can be, those missiles can be rerouted back towards targets in the United States, right now they're pointed out to the ocean. And that's the least amount of problems that we've had in that area for many years, because before that, you know, back in the 50s, over 100,000 bomb shelters were built because we were on the brink of a nuclear war with the Russians. And Ronald Reagan, he helped dismantle that monolithic communist regime over in Russia, and with that, the collapse of pretty much all the other communist regimes except for North Korea and Cuba, and even China now is starting to come around into a more democratic country. So Ronald Reagan was a hero to many people. He was a great communicator, He just had his birthday the other day. What is he? He's now about 112, isn't he, or something like that, Fred?
It's 87.
All right. And so I think we, many of you viewers out there grew up with Ronald, you college kids out there, back when he was president back in 1981. Some of you, that's 17 years ago. Some of you were just were still babies when he came in as president, and he changed the whole complexities of this country and the world were changed with Ronald Reagan coming in back when he did, after the Jimmy Carter fiasco years when we had the highest interest rates and the highest inflation rates that our country had seen in many, many years. And he brought back strength, peace, and prosperity to this country, Fred. And I know you shook his hand once, didn't you?
Oh. I didn't shake his hand.
All right, that's what I heard. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, what do you think about that H-Mong killing?
The what?
The H-Mongs killing each other.
The who?
The Mongs.
Well, I'll tell you. It's no different than the guy last year that walked in and blew his girlfriend away, and that little baby that was laying there, and I think another person. What's being a Hmong got to do with it? Murder is murder, and people commit murder in this country 30, 40,000 times a year. So why it shouldn't be the nationality or the race of the person that committed the murder shouldn't have anything to do with it. It's just unfortunate that 2 people died and another person was seriously injured, and that's the tragedy right there. It's not the race or color of the person involved.
We didn't win the war in Vietnam, and that's why you're over here. We should have won it there.
Yeah, well, you could say you could say a lot of things, Fred, but I don't know what that's got to do with it.
It's true.
All right. Okay, we'll get to the phone here in a second. Baggy clothes may have saved this life of this 13-year-old boy in Belgrade, Yugoslavia. He fell 130 feet from his high-rise apartment and survived with only minor injuries. Witnesses said Daniel Gurkas's baggy sweater caught tree limbs on the way down. That's what saved him, Fred. 130 foot he fell, just minor scratches. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
Okay, and another one here. Joe Peterson, a tourist in Italy, broke an arm and both legs when he fell over a cliff trying to pick up a lucky 4-leaf clover.
Hang on.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, hey, Chuck.
Yeah.
I got myself a little bit of a problem here. Yeah, see, I just whacked this guy for some diamonds. See, I got this big bag of jewels, but they're after me. They got guns and they're firing at me. What do I do, Chuck? Help me. Help me, Chuck. Talk to me. Come on.
Okay, well, Fred is the expert on diamonds. What do you think about it, Fred? Should he sell the diamonds or keep them for inflation?
Either do one or the other.
Huh?
Either do one or the other.
Well, you can always get a straight answer from Fred. I'll tell you that much. You know, Betty told me to watch out for you tonight. She said you were acting a little squirrely.
Yeah.
I talked to her earlier. She didn't know where you were at.
Well, I told her where I was going. I told her I was going to be coming up here after I went to the Legion meeting.
Okay. Carlos Diaz of New York got 18 years to life for committing a series of robberies by pretending a zucchini hidden under his jacket was a gun. 18 years to life, Fred. You might as well use a real gun. Okay, there. What do you got there, Freddie boy? And then we'll take another very vital and important phone call.
Now versus Scheidler set to go to trial.
And what's that mean in layman's terms?
Operation Rescue founder Randall Terry, who is running for U.S. Congress for New York's 26th district, signed a a settlement with the National Organization for Women now, dropping him from the, he was in that, he was the Shidler.
Well, you know, speaking of National Organization of Witches, formerly the National Organization of Women, where are they at? Where's the outcry from them now with this Monica Lewinsky deal and the president and all that? Where in the heck are they at now, Fred? How come there's just one big silence out there
Yeah.
from all these people that were so bent out of shape with Anita Hill? What's different with this deal?
And she said some things which may not have been true. Anita Hill.
That's right. All right, go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, Chuck, I was wondering what you thought about this whole situation that we got here with those guys over there in Iraq. And then now I hear that there could be like a world war out of this whole deal. I'm wondering if you think these Russians, what they think they're going to do here. Are they going to be launching missiles and stuff at us, or what are they going to do?
All right, well, we'll talk about that here. You know, Freddie boy, I talked to a military person the other day, and I got relatives over in Bosnia right now that are, we got soldiers over there. We got one big hunk of our army sitting over there in Bosnia tied down. And now we're getting thousands of military personnel tied down in the Middle East. We got probably over 50,000 soldiers tied down in Korea. We got more soldiers tied down in Cuba, and probably half a dozen other spots around the world we got our military. You know, we're getting spread pretty thin out there.
I know it.
And most military experts will say that we cannot launch another Desert Storm type of a war. We do not have the equipment or the personnel or the will to do it,
We don't
to win it.
have the personnel to do it is right. We got rid of most of the people that were in the Army and the Navy.
And we got troops down in Panama, and I think we still got some in Haiti. We're just spread pretty thin out there, and why in the world are we the policemen of the world and putting all of our sons and daughters on the front lines to be gassed and poisoned by anthrax and shot at, everything else? Where's the rest of the world?
We have one nation that is Britain that's agreed with us.
Yeah, but why are we using our soldiers for fodder out there in the front lines?
I know that.
I got relatives over there in Bosnia getting shot at, pot shots at and stuff, right in the middle of that powder keg over there.
Right.
Look at Korea, North Korea, they're starving in the north side, and there's economic and chaotic meltdown on the South Korean side, and we got these 50,000 American soldiers right between it. We could get attacked from both sides.
I know it.
Things are really deteriorating bad there.
And Patrick Buchanan says, where are we going in the Gulf?
So anyway, getting back to what the guy asked on the phone there, no, Russia is not going to. Russia can rattle their rusty saber a little bit, but Russia is not going to do anything. That's why Clinton's lining up Britain and Australia and Germany and some of the other big countries, and Russia is just going to bide their time and rebuild their arsenal and do what they have to protect themselves, but they're not going to do anything there. They can't even take care of a little country called Chechnya, a ragtag army of Muslims over there that fought off probably the second or third largest army in the world. They fought them to a standstill and then drove them out of the little country of Chechnya. And so Russia is not the problem. The problem is that not in Iraq. He's got all kinds of chemical and biological missiles that he will probably take a pot shot and try and wipe out Israel first, but he could also come after the United States in a big way and some of our foreign outposts and damage and poison and destroy a lot of human beings. And most likely they already have their fifth column right in this country here that will be able to set off a few nuclear bombs or poison some water systems or what have you. I mean, if they can smuggle tons upon tons of cocaine and marijuana into this country along the southern border, don't you think they can't smuggle in a few dozen suitcase nuclear bombs or a couple hundred canisters of anthrax into this country and just let them go as need be. So we're playing a very dangerous game with this guy. We should have took him out back in Desert Storm when we didn't, and we're going to pay for it. I don't think this is the Third World War, though. The timeline is not right yet. Just because we're almost ticking away to the year 2000, that doesn't mean that exactly on the year 2000, January 1st, that the end of the world is here or whatever. I personally think that there's another 10, 15 years before we get into some very serious and world conflagrations that will cause massive destruction of humanity, property, and what have you. So we're still a few years away from that, but we could see we're playing with some dynamite here with this deal, Fred. I don't think it'll start a world war, but it could cause some regional problems.
Right.
And we could see some of the Arab countries unite with Iraq this time and go after Israel, because that's what it boils down to. Basically, is the United States backs Israel, and so that's a thorn in the side of every Muslim in the world. Is that we're backing Israel. There's only a few countries left doing that. As long as the United States supports Israel, there won't be any worldwide war. But when the United States does walk away from Israel, then the end will come. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, well, what happened to the raccoon ad? I like the one you have now, Monica Lewinsky. You can see why Clinton boned her, huh? Another thing, are you going to run for Congress, and is that bag of bones going to run with you?
Okay, Roy, can you get a close-up of that picture there? There she is, Monica Lewinsky. I'll tell you, looking at her, you can see why President Clinton was chasing her around the office there.
Yes.
She had eyes only for him. All right. Okay, Freddie boy, here's one for the books. 2 8th grade girls in Mableton, Georgia were suspended from school for practicing voodoo. According to reports, the Lindley Middle School girls were trying to cast spells on other students. 8th graders, Fred.
Yes.
Here's another one, a bad week for kidnappers. 3 men in Marietta, Georgia tried to kidnap Wanda Beverly and Tony Watt. When police closed in, one of the men shot himself in the leg while trying to unload his gun. The guy probably said, oops, the cops, quick, unload your guns. And here's one, Fred, from right across the border in Minnesota. Police in Clearwater, Minnesota are looking for the owner of a severed human leg found at a rest area. And of course, you know, in that condition, the guy probably didn't get far, and I'm sure they'll find him. Okay, Fred, what do you got there?
Well, this is from the Wanderer and February 12th, and at the Catholic newspaper from St. Paul. Maturity is the issue by George A. Kendall. Once more, the scandals of a sexual nature are tarnishing the reputation of one, and our president. First there was Jennifer Jones, then Paula Jones, and now Monica Lewinsky. The latest one concludes put an end to his presidency, which I think we should never underestimate Slick Willie's ability to slither out of almost any situation he finds himself.
I can see there, Fred, that I can see what you're talking about there. But why is it just a wanderer? I thought you said you were going to bring a diversity of information to the program this evening.
I did.
Oh.
I brought the Wanderer.
Okay.
I had some other things that I couldn't get a hold of when I was leaving the house.
All right. What's going on out there on the phones, Roy? You keeping them girls in line? All right. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Chuck. How you doing?
Okay.
I got a question for Fred there. You still get laid now at you?
Okay there, Freddie boy, here's one for you. Here's one for the books. When James Nagel tried to abduct a Los Angeles woman, someone tipped off the police. So Nagel led officers on a high-speed chase for 30 minutes, then tried to get away on foot. He shot at police several times but missed. Nagel then climbed a utility pole and threatened to kill himself. Police tried to talk him down, then shot him with 10 rounds of plastic bullets. Nagel finally surrendered after being sprayed for 5 minutes with a high-powered water hose. Boy, that really makes sense. Police spraying up at a guy on some electric wires with a high-powered water hose. He finally surrendered after being sprayed for 5 minutes with this water, but not before accidentally shooting himself in the forehead. This guy really had a rough day out there, Fred. Okay, go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, you know that Monica was offered $2 million to be in Playboy, right? You know that.
No, I haven't heard that.
Okay, she was offered $2 million to pose nude in Playboy. I was just wondering if she was in there, since you have her on your hat, would you look at her? She was in there?
In where? Whoops. Okay, well.
Would you?
$2 million, Fred. What happened, Roy? Someone give you... I'll tell you, the phones are just ringing off the hook in there. Fred's having a hard time. Roy's having a hard time. Keep those girls in line out there. They're all getting ready to walk out and quit. There's so many calls coming in. All right, Freddie boy, what do you got out there?
Clinton's education proposals undercut the family.
Well, what's that mean? What's that mean in layman's terms?
It's going to cut down the control that we have over our families.
Oh. Okay. All right. Police in Valdosta arrested trucker James Richardson for romping naked through the woods behind a Georgia welcome center. Richard was trying to put on a skirt when deputies found him. Okay, Freddie boy. Here's something here. I see here where gambling compact rejected by tribe. The first Chippewa band to consider the governor's offer for continuing tribal gambling operations in Wisconsin has rejected it. After the weekend vote in a meeting of tribal members, the governing board of the Lakota band planned to meet today and release the band's official position on the offer made by Governor Tommy Thompson. According to state and tribal officials, the offer would extend the current gaming compact for 5 years past its August 16 expiration date, while negotiations of various issues continue, but either side could cancel out of the deal after 1 year. The Lakota would pay the state $420,000 of its gambling revenue the first year, compared with 7.9% or about $675,000 a year the governor is seeking. Now you think about it, Fred. 7.9% of a multi-million-dollar operation is getting off pretty cheap.
Yes.
When they have a monopoly on this gambling, and you can't set up one down the corner there. You can't go out and buy some one-armed bandits and
right. Open
up some blackjack tables, and it's something that just a handful of people in this state are allowed to do. It's not fair to the rest of the population of the state. And all the governor was asking for is about 8% of the revenues.
Yes.
And which is about the same as what people pay when they have bingo. The Catholic Church pays about 8% of their gross. I think the American Legion, whoever holds a bingo, they have to buy a license, and it's 8% of the gross. So he's not asking for any more than any other gambling enterprises that are legal in the state are having to pay in the way of taxes. Matter of fact, the percentage would be the same as a corporate income tax. But I would say, Fred, they're getting off pretty cheap. This is almost about $800 million
yes.
A year that they're bringing in now. At least that's what they brought in during the fiscal year ending, I think, in July of '97. and within a year or two they'll be up at the $1 billion mark. We're asking for a paltry 8% of that. We should ask for more like 20 to 30% of it,
Yes.
maybe even 50%.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
I think these the LeCoultre are shooting themselves in the foot. And if I was the governor, I would say, fine, we'll just shut you down, take away your license, and when you want to come back and talk business, come on back. But until that point, I'm going to put an army of state troopers around your Indian gaming places, and no one's going to come or leave, come or go, until you settle. And if you don't like it, lock, stock, and barrel and head to Minnesota or somewhere else. Because you're getting something that the rest of us aren't getting. And that's why people are mad in this country. Because there's not equality, this is unequal treatment of a certain class of people based solely upon the color of their skin. Martin Luther King is spinning in his grave, Fred.
He is?
Yes, he is.
I didn't know that.
Well,
How could you tell?
when he gave his speech on equality, he said, by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. And this whole gambling issue is based solely on the color of your skin.
Well, I don't know.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
How's it going, guys?
All right. What's up?
I was just wondering if you two were fucking fake.
There's another fine example of the educational system in the Eau Claire School District. They're flawless and perfect English. It's just remarkable what they learn in the educational system locally. With one of the highest per student tax rates we pay out to educate people around here, we get some local yokel that can't even speak English, Fred.
Yes.
I know back when you were teaching school back in the 30s, you wouldn't let them get away with that.
Right.
Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Okay. I think that cows are really cool, and I was a cow for Halloween because I love cows. And I just think that they're really cool, and I love your show. Okay?
All right, thanks for calling in. Now there's another fine example of a great person, Fred, somebody that knows their stuff.
Yes.
Somebody that's highly educated.
Yes.
All right, Freddie boy, here's one. An Australian man accused of murdering his wife can't seem to get his story straight. June Matthew, John Rushton's second wife, testified that Rushton told her his first wife died of a heart attack, ran off with a Baptist minister after committing 55 acts of adultery, and drowned after being washed overboard. Rushton also claimed he was a nuclear physicist, a naval commander, and had been knighted for saving the Queen's life. Matthew, who was married to Rushton for 5 years, believed him because he was a good talker. What do you think about that, Fred?
I don't.
All right. Okay, what do you got there, Fred?
Despite the most astounding disgrace in the history of American politics, Bill Clinton is enjoying his highest approval ratings ever. Are the people of this country so depraved? No doubt. Some of the 70% think he's doing the job are rallying behind their president out of blind patriotism and hatred of the media rather than because they accuse his conduct. And then let's try to be more like the French factor. Who cares what Clinton does in his private life? Are they armed, eagerly reading all the details?
Okay. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I was just wondering what you think of gays in the military.
Okay, Fred, you were in the military. What do you think about that?
I didn't think very much of it. We didn't have too many of them in the military when I was in. I got out in 46, January of 46. And I didn't meet any gays in the military. I met them outside, though.
Well, The main deal with the military is it's there for one reason, and that is to protect us so that we don't go to war. And then when we go to war, their main objective is to kill people and break things. And you can be gay or straight to do that. The thing is, as long as you're there to do your work and all this other stuff, it doesn't come up. That's why they have this policy of don't ask, don't tell. It's basically what you do as a soldier or a sailor or whatever, and how you do your job, and in case of war, whether you're able to engage the enemy and do your job and to kill people and to break things. And so all this other stuff, the reason all this is cropping up is because we're in basically a peacetime military, and so we got all these little hayseed problems out there that have nothing to do with killing people and breaking things. So what we need, Fred, is a good little war to clear out all that stuff and get people's minds back on what the military is set up for. That's to protect our country and to kill our enemies and to break and destroy all of their equipment. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Chuck, I was wondering, can you tell me who helps Fred talk and what you doing with your hand under the table?
Okay there, Freddie. You know, it's amazing for the millions upon millions of dollars that the local school system has spent, and we get these local yokel hayseeds that can't even speak English. I ask you, Fred, what is going on? You were a school teacher for 30, 40 years.
I wasn't, unfortunately.
That's not what Betty said. All right, Fred, a Los Angeles Municipal Court judge is under investigation for drug use after exhibiting slurred and rambling speech and appearing to speak to an empty witness stand. And here was another judge here. County Judge Richard Jones is under fire this week in Nebraska for signing court documents Adolf Hitler, setting a defendant's bail at $1 zillion, and tossing firecrackers into another judge's office. Things are getting a little weird out there, Freddie boy. Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
So what do you think about this Iraq thing? Do you think we'll go into war just to, blow over the whole scandal with, Lewinsky, or do you think there's a real purpose there?
Well, it'd probably be easy to say that art is entertaining or copying reality. There's a movie out called Wag the Dog that deals with that specifically.
Right.
I think there's Robert De Niro and a few other people in the movie.
Hoffman, yeah.
Yeah, and in that movie, the president is having an affair, and so Robert De Niro creates a war, puts us on a war footing and a scare about going to war. I've discussed that on this program before, and in the past it has worked to a certain extent when the heat is on the president for a certain issue,
right,
to bring another issue to the front burner, and so people will start looking at that issue and get their eyes off of the president and his problems.
But it's still, when you look at it on the other side, it still is a serious problem. Looking at Saddam and the weapons of mass destruction.
It is a serious problem, but Clinton has let it fester since January of 1993. This is February of 1998. So he's let it fester for 5 years. If he really wanted to do something, he should have did it back in '93 when Hussein was still weak. But now he's had several years, 6, 7 years, to replenish his supply of military equipment. He's been all during this time he's been illegally selling oil on the black market, and the other Hussein from Jordan has helped smuggle millions of barrels of oil out of Iraq and get it out there so that Hussein would have some hard currency to continue buying his military, keeping his military machine going, and at the same time almost starving his own people to death, and still continuing to build his luxurious palaces all over the country.
Right. If we didn't have those damn Democrats in it, we'd have a strong conservative in there. It might be a better deal for us all. Hey, you have a nice night, Chuck.
Okay. Well, thanks for calling in. It's still still a mess over there any way you look at it. It's not going to be a pretty surgical thing to root him out of there. We couldn't do it back during Desert Storm, and our military now is weaker than they were then, and more prone to make accidents. A lot of our equipment is getting old now, and we're having to cannibalize certain planes and helicopters and stuff just to keep them running. And so there's more chance for errors and for breakdowns this time than when we were militarily ready back in the early 90s. Now we're not. Clinton has seen to it that he's cut the military budget wherever possible. And so we could find ourselves in one big old pickle this time around. Fred, and you were in the military. What do you think about it?
I agree with you.
All right. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Okay.
Hey, I have a question for you. How do you explain the fact that we had the strongest economy in 30 years with a Democratic president? Doesn't that kind of mean, like, Republicans suck?
All right. Well, the caller there evidently is another product of our local school system there, and he probably flunked Political Science 101. Doesn't realize that since 1994, the Congress, which is made up of the House and Senate, has been controlled by the Republicans, and they're the ones that pass the budgets, and they're the ones that have had fiscal restraint to the point where we've been able to balance our budget. And to have this fiscal restraint and to keep our budget in line with the income coming in, that we've been able to have this prosperity. This prosperity started back when George Bush was in office. And because of the fiscal policies of the Republicans carried on through the Congress, for those of you that don't know this out there, the Congress is the one that passes bills. Clinton, all he does is either veto them or sign them into law. And so it's been the Republican Congress that has kept us on the right track and kept us fiscally going down the right track. All you have to do is look at Wisconsin. For something like 10 years in a row, the unemployment rate has been below the national average by several points, and that's been with a Republican governor in place. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, you kind of look like the picture behind you. And is it true you only have one tip?
Okay there, Freddie boy. We certainly do have our share of idiots out there tonight, Fred.
Yes.
Just simple, retarded idiots.
Yes.
That probably went to the local school system and were just passed from grade to grade to grade to get them into the local college. And hopefully now, in college, they have 4 years to straighten themselves out. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi. Say, I just wanted to say it takes quite a man to sit there and have an intelligent conversation with the idiots who call in and make the comments that they do to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
I just can't believe that there are so many immature people that they have to do this to get attention on themselves and make themselves feel good. And you're quite the man to be able to sit there and take it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, you know, Freddie boy, it's people like that that makes it a joy to have this show on the air.
Yes.
You know what? There's some people that took advantage of the multi-million-dollar educational system here locally, and they used it to their advantage, Fred. And
Yes.
they took all that waste and they molded it to the point where it made a difference in their life educationally.
Yes.
And they went on to become something like the last caller. And then there's others that have squandered their opportunity, Fred. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I was wondering, how do you milk a cow?
I don't know. You tell me.
No, I seriously don't know.
How do you milk a cow?
Yeah.
Well, Fred, you really lived on a farm when you were younger. Well, that cow doesn't have any udders on there, so
Yeah.
I couldn't show you there. But it's basically, you use you have a milking machine that you put on the udders of the cow, and that pumps the milk into a machine, and then they separate the cream from the milk, then they pasteurize it, and then they send it to a bunch of middlemen who jack the price up on it, and then it ends up on the grocery store shelves, and then you buy it for the ridiculous price that you do, and then you drink it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just want to tell you guys that I like your show, and I love cows and milk.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. You know, we're the only mammals on Earth, the only animal in the animal
That
kingdom
drinks milk.
that drinks milk after they've been weaned. What do you think about that?
Yes, I know.
Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on the air. We're back. There we are. Hello? Hello, you're on the air. All right there, Freddie boy.
Yes.
What do you think?
Billions of dollars of foreign industrial investment are poured into Mexico under NAFTA. The investments are plowed into their products that are sold to the United States and thereby undercut American producers. Does it help Mexican workers as promised? No. Both Mexican and American economists find that the average worker in Mexican industries earns only half of what he earned in 1980, and this is by...
Okay, Roy, can you get a close-up there, Monica?
Sam Francis, an honest liberal, looks at NAFTA.
She looked into Bill's eyes and said, Bill, I only have eyes for you. Okay, go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, I was wondering how you like to be pissed on you.
There's another fine example, Fred, of speech class that went wrong somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, Freddie, here it says Gingrich may face another primary challenge. Of course, you see a picture of Gingrich right there. Newt Gingrich, Speaker of the United States House, the architect of the '94 coup that brought the Republicans into control of the House and Senate, and has been a leader in a lot of Republican causes over the years. There's a conservative, the chairman of the Cherokee County. He was a GOP Republican chairman of Cherokee County, resigned from his office. His name is Chuck Loki, 43 years old. He resigned to run against Newt in the primary. And so it looks like Newt's going to have a little competition to be reelected here this year. And of course, the primaries are just a few months away, and the general elections are less than 9 months away, Freddie boy. So don't forget to register and vote this year.
Yes.
Now, did you vote last year?
You bet.
And there's spring elections coming up here real soon, too.
Yes, I know. And the Republicans are having a meeting, and you have to register by the 11th or with your dues, or you can't vote in their campaign.
Well, the Republicans have to, if you're a member of the Eau Claire County Republican Party, you have to get your dues in by, I think it's midnight the 11th.
Yeah.
Or you won't be able to vote at the upcoming caucus, and once again there'll be some social issues that are voted on. There won't be any president or vice president or chairman or whatever voted on. There won't be any elected offices this time, but there are some crucial social issues that get voted on here and then voted on at the 3rd Congressional District Caucus, and then on to the state caucus, where they're voted on by the whole state party, and then once they're voted on and passed, that becomes the platform of the state party for the next, I guess it's the next 2 years. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I'm new to the Eau Claire area, and I noticed when I was downtown the other day that I saw an adult bookstore, and they sold X-rated movies and all this kind of thing. And I was driving to Menominee, too, and I saw some nude dancing establishment. What do you guys think of that? I mean, I think that's totally horrible. No, I don't really know what to do. I don't really want to live in a community like this, and I don't know what you guys think of it. What could I do about this? Is there anything I can do with my local government?
What can you do, Freddie boy? You got 30 seconds.
The American, the organization that we had here that fought pornography for a number of years, he ought to join it and help out. Unfortunately, I can't do that anymore.
Well, you know, the bookstores are kind of a dinosaur now. There's several video stores, including some of the new ones in town, that are selling or renting X-rated videos, and so the cat is pretty much out of the bag, and plus the pornography on the internet. So it's just a matter now of your individual choices on what you do, and that's what it's boiling down to now. Because it's just too much, it's just too spread out there, too far.
Oh, just too far hand, you're saying?
You just have to make your individual choices about where you're going to take your stand at. And And hopefully every other person will do the same. Well, thanks for calling in, caller, and thanks for tuning in once again to the Old Cow Report. I've been your host, Chuck Lee, and with me has been my rusty, trusty sidekick, Fred, the Carp Master Stafford. And Fred, where can we buy a carp sausage now? You haven't hit out in any local establishments in the area?
No, I don't know.
Okay, well, just look around at the stores for Fred's carp sausage.
I don't have any, and you won't find any of my...
At finer stores anywhere.
You won't find
Go ahead,
any.
caller. You're the last call of the day. You got 2 seconds.
You know, it's really nice that you guys have this show on because it gives all us fucking drunks.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you again next time. Adios, amigos and amigas.
Yes.